According to the of the Rebbe, to make a סיום from Rosh Chodesh Mנחem until 15 B'Av, we have the honor today to have a Choshev Gaman. Dr. Mair Zaakless is going to make a סיום in Masechet Tamiid. As the Rebbe says that every סיום should be included in Avas Yisrael and Zokah. Also, we wanted to use this opportunity to wish Homenschen, unser Deiron, Reb Meir, also hoffen nach Staatswoche, Vatzloche, in everything, in Gesund, Parnose, Archove, and everything should be the best. And so sein schon die Sion von Goles, take from Yad Mamesh, Dr. Zaakless, bevakasha. Amen.
Sim is going to be on Masechtas Tamiid. The last Mishnah talks about the Mizmorim that the Levim used to say in the Beis Hamikdash every day was a different Mizmor. So the Mishnah starts as Shir Shohei Levim Oim Mikdash, the Shir that they used to say in the Beis Hamikdash Shoyim Rishon on the first day, Hoye Oimim Hashem Orim Tzvayei Tebel V'Yoshvei V'Lah, which starts to explain how Hashem created all of existence in its potential form. The Sheni on the second day, on the second day was the separation of the upper and the lower spheres. On the third day, where the land was uncovered, which was previously covered by water, which was the creation of the sun and the moon. And then which was the creation of the birds and the fish. And on the sixth day, the world was completed and man was formed, man was made on that sixth day. The Shabbos, on Shabbos, it says, Mizmer Shir Yom Shabbos. Mizmer Shir Yom Shabbos, and the Mishnah explains what it means. Mizmer Shir Lasid Lave. This is a mizmer for the future. L'yom shekulei Shabbos, in the day that is entirely Shabbos. L'menucha l'chayolam, in the day that is the rest leading to everlasting life. Now the Rebbe makes a siyum on the Masechtas Tamiid, which is found in Chelik Zayin in the Parshas Bachokosai, and the Sikha begins by focusing on the pasuk that says in Parshas Bachokosai, "Vishvati chaya ra min haaretz." So what is being said there is Skim Bachokosai telecho. If you follow what the Eibishter wants you to follow, then he is going to have the wild animals withdrawn from the earth. So the Rebbe brings down that in Toras Kohanim that there is two opinions on how to apply the phrase in times of Mashiach, because obviously Hishpati Chaya Ra Min Haaretz hasn't happened yet, and it's obviously referring to the times of Mashiach, just like the Mizmor Shir Yom Shabbos. So there's two opinions. He brings down Reb Shimon, who says Mashvisim Shlo Yezuku, that these animals, these wild animals, will refrain from doing damage, which means that they'll change their instinct. They will still exist, but they won't be wild. They'll take the wild out of the wild animal. And the support for Reb Shimon is the pasuk Shayohu B'Goresei Keves, that the wolf will dwell with the lamb, implying that the nature, the instincts of the wild animals will change, and there'll be a change in tzura only. In other words, the wild animals will still exist, but they will now be not wild, they will be tame. The other opinion of Hishpati Chaya Ra Min Haaretz is that of Rabbi Yehuda that the Rebbe brings down. And Rabbi Yehuda says, Mavirim min ha'elam, that in fact the wild animals will be in Ganzen removed from the world. Their existence will be Metzias, they will become extinct, finished. Now, the question, of course, is right away on Rabbi Yehuda, if all the wild animals are going to be completely destroyed, what does he do with the pasuk, V'gor Zelim Keves? So Rabbi Yehuda proposes that there actually is going to be two phases of Mashiach, Trei Charuv. The first phase is exactly that, the Gor Zeviv and Kevis, where the wolf will dwell with the lamb. But then there will be a second phase that's called Mavir Min Olam, that they will be completely destroyed. So the Tzicha actually delves into the issues of Chad Charuv or Trei Charuv, which is either one phase of Mashiach or two phases of Mashiach, and also debates whether the Mizmor Shir Sheyayim, which in our Mishnah refers to the future, the Rebbe brings down, and there's a brayso in Rosh Hashanah that says that, in fact, it refers to Ma'aseh Bereishis. Both of these things we won't discuss. You can be ma'ayin in the Sikha if you want to get more information on that. What we will try to do is to clarify, because it's interesting, at the end you'll see the opinions of Reb Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda. The Rebbe brings down the Rogatchover, who has this special knack of finding a common thread or the underpinning of a Tana when he gives his opinion, how it flows right through Shas, and he brings down the Rogatchover when he's talking about the Reb Shimon and the Rebbe Yehuda. And the first situation that the Rebbe brings up is Bir Chometz. It says in Bir Chometz, Tashbisu Ser Mibotechem, you have to remove the Chometz, the leaven, from your house. And Reb Shimon and the Chachamim say, Mefarer v'zeir l'ruach oilayam, that you can crumble it up to make it in shtikalach, and you can throw it either in the wind or in the sea. And here, all you've done is change the surah, you've changed the form. So there is what they call a bittul hachibur. The attachment has now become bittul, but the mitzias, the crumbs, still exist. So according to Reb Shimon, the tzura is what counts. According to Reb Yehuda, he says, no, that's not good for Bir Chometz. Bir Chometz has to undergo sreifa. Sreifa means that it has to be completely exterminated and destroyed. He holds bittul hametzias. You'll ask the question, when you burn chometz, you're going to get some offer as well. So Rabbi Yehuda answers that the ash that you're going to get is a metzias chadasha, and it's not the same metzias. So there is a complete bittul hametzias. The next example that Rebbe brings is from Shabbos, and it says, "V'yom hashvi tishbos," on the seventh day you're supposed to cease from doing all your work. And the Rebbe gives two examples, and he details the examples in the Sikha, which is quite interesting. First, he talks about a malacha she'eina tzricha legufa, and he gives the explanation. He says a malacha is performed, the malacha is performed intentionally, but it is being done for a secondary purpose, not the primary purpose. And the Rebbe goes further, gives an example. If you're going to extinguish a log fire because maybe you fear Nochrim are going to see it, they're going to come and they're going to damage your house, or because you're extinguishing because there's a sick person and you want to let him sleep. In other words, you're not extinguishing the fire for its primary purpose, which is usually to prepare charcoal, but for a secondary reason. So Reb Shimon would say, Potter. Why? Because the tzura of the malacha has changed. It's not a malacha in its complete sense anymore, because the primary purpose has changed, and therefore he's Potter. But Rabbi Yehuda, who holds that the mitzias is important, he's going to say it's chayiv. Why? Because bottom line is the act was actually done, was actually performed. So the mitzias was performed, and he says chayiv. The other example that the Rebbe gives on Shabbos is a davar she'eina miskaven. That's a malacha that didn't have kavona, and again, the Rebbe gives a very detailed example. If you're pouring cold water into a hot metal cup, and if your intention is to warm the water, but unintentionally, this will strengthen the kli, which is known as gamar malachas hatzorfin, and then it is considered the malacha of refining. So even though your intention wasn't that, the malacha actually took place. But Reb Shimon says, who again, for him the tzura is important. Since the malacha wasn't done with that intention of strengthening the kli itself, so it's now a different surah, and it's mutter. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda says, no, it's asur, because again, the bottom line is the malacha was done. So we have basically two opinions. Rabbi Shimon holds that surah, that the form is what counts, and Rabbi Yehuda says it's mitzias is what counts. So which opinion do we follow? So the Rebbe deduces through a long part of the Sikha that the halacha is ultimately like Reb Shimon. Like what Shimon says, that the tzura is what counts. So when he says mashvisin shelo yaziku, he says that the wild animals will still exist, but their nature, their instincts will change. So we're not getting rid of the wild animals. They retain their existence. Only their nature has changed. And what's the hayra that the Rebbe says? The hayra is that the ikar and the shlemus of our avodah is not to run away from or detach ourselves from the world. Don't ignore or reject the world. It's a mitzias. It's there. But to make the world, which is full of molik klippus into a dirah yisparach. The idea is to change the form, to change the tzura only. That's the point. That's the point of changing the tzura, but not its existence. Don't reject the existence. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to go from tamei to something to make things kaddish. We're trying to go from darkness to light. We're trying to go from evil to goodness and kindness. And like Rabbi Zalman said, we're going from sinas chinam to avos yisrael and to tzedakah. And with that, we create a dira b'tachtainim. And in the Rebbe's words, and durch them, and through that, that zeicha sein, we will merit zum kiyum ha'yud, to fulfill the mission, the shah, the hishbati chayra min arts, we will get rid of the chayra from the land, zum yom shekoy, to the day that's entirely Shabbos, Nunucha, the Chayelamim, that's an everlasting life with the coming of Mashiach to the kingdom of Meir v'Yemenu. Amen. Wait, let me say Hadron. Hadron Alach B'Zman Shekayim Gadol, Slika Log Mesechus Tamid, Hadron Alach B'Zman Shekayim Gadol, Slika Log Mesechus Tamid, Hadron Alach B'Zman Shekayim Gadol, Slika Log Mesechus Tamid. Go ahead.
Amen. Amen.